This football game today was a crazy one to watch, an even more difficult one to try to react to. The Ravens prevailed 41-38, whether they deserve to or not, in true 2024 fashion for the tone and tenor and dynamic of this football team. I'm going to do two reviews of this game, and here's what I mean. I'm going to do an overly positive one, a glowing one, and then a more reality-based, perhaps darker reaction that was in my mind. I don't know about yours, for the second half. Basically, watching our defense play, we looked lost on defense as the Bengals scored touchdowns, I think, on 4 straight possessions, late second quarter into the fourth quarter, basically to turn what at one point was a 14-7 and then 14-9 deficit into 10-point leads on 3 different occasions. I wish YouTube had a click option for you right now to choose which one to listen to first, the positive version or the negative one. Which one would you pick? Let's do it that way. Would you pick the negative, we got lucky version, or the one that says 3-2 feels like 5-0 at this point after being 14 days ago, after being winless, 0-2, going on the road to Dallas? I think it'd be an interesting thought experiment if YouTube could show me the data on which version people would pick. So maybe I'll do a poll during the premiere. You guys let me know which your perspective is. I got both going on inside of my brain during the game, immediately thereafter, and still as I record the reaction video. The title, deserves, got nothing to do with it, obviously does not refer to Lamar Jackson. It's a quote from an underrated movie, if you don't know, but he made his team worthy today. Lamar made the Ravens worthy of a win. Otherwise, they're not, especially with the way the defense performed quite poorly. This style of reaction video will be different. Hopefully, won't have to do it again because I didn't really enjoy watching this football game, to be honest with you. It's my way to try to represent the duality of this team as we see it after 5 games, and avoid stigmatizing words to do so. So just be advised, you're getting the negative version first. After briefly talking about how amazing, laser-focused, and just downright driven Lamar Jackson was today, I think he threw for 348 against a Bengals defense that, in my opinion, played their best game. Except for week 2 against the Chiefs, perhaps. But the style, the quality of defense I think the Bengals played was better than what we had seen through 4 games for them. Lamar only ran for 55 yards, but had a number of just jaw-dropping escapes that he turned into completions. Scored touchdowns on 3 different times to match the Bengals score for score, meaning they established a 10-point lead, and then Lamar takes us right downfield to score 3 times. That is gutsy. That is a different dynamic for any player, any athlete, to be able to do, basically on the road, down by 10, defense playing horrible, and 3 times he kept us in the game. Eventually we were able to tie it and then win it in overtime. I thought him and Joe Burrow put on a show. Obviously most NFL fans would want to see more of those games, meaning those type of games. Ton of high leverage, excitement, almost highlight reel plays in the fourth quarter. In this case, Lamar was spectacular. Other than the overtime fumble that I really can't figure out, or bad snap, whatever you want to call it. I walked away for a moment after that play, so I'll see the replay later. So let's do this from a glass half empty, or maybe 2/3 empty perspective. Keep that in mind. I will switch it up quickly, just like the Ravens team tends to do. We have one of the worst second quarter time management franchises, teams, organizations that I could imagine from a coaching standpoint. The timeout with, I think it's a 2nd and 10 with 45 seconds left. Now, yes, the Bengals could have called a timeout as well, but we're the ones who did. Eventually, the Bengals scored on the 41-yard touchdown pass from Burrow to Chase that was way too easy, obviously, and then we give up the 2-point conversion to make it 17-14. I'm not focusing necessarily on the touchdown pass yet. It's almost laughable how many points we have either left on the board from 2022 to 2024, or like today, giving up a late touchdown or a late field goal that in many cases we would have been up by 13 and instead we only end up being up by 10, or we would have been up by 10 and in some cases only end up leading by 7 at the half. This situation allowed the Bengals to totally flip-flop it from a 14-9 deficit to a 17-14 lead and really take control. Next point that is obvious and really I don't think overly negative, our coverages are either predictable for other teams' offenses, or they're not sound, or both. We're stuck with a defensive coordinator right now who at this moment is overmatched. At minimum, Zach Orr is outmatched. in the situations where he's got to adjust during the game. And perhaps he's incapable of adjusting to pass-focused offenses at worst. You probably don't like that after a win on the road, but I told you what you were going to get. You're talking about bad alignment for a team that has a lot of talent on defense. Inability to adjust to formations or recognize threats specifically. We'll do the empty screen to Chase first of all. It's empty. Joe Burrow loves to operate out of empty. He's lived out of that since LSU, to be honest with you. He likes to attack horizontally, quick, occasionally up the seams. Now, I'm talking a little bit too much about long-term patterns, so let me be specific. It's 12 personnel. There's 2 tight ends to the trip side, the right side, where Chase is. The 2 tight ends are over there. They're eventually the blockers. We are outflanked. There is such a thing as recognizing the actual threat of the formations, and this team does not do it at all. And we weren't great at it at times in 2023, to be honest with you. It's almost like we have plays that we run, and that's what we run. But unfortunately, it's this year, this version of it, we are getting scorched at times by these somewhat anomalous formations. In this case, it's empty. And if you don't recall, we had the same issue early in 2022 with Mike McDonald giving up empty screens, and a couple times in 2023, although it didn't hit us as big as the one to Chase today for 70 yards. I think this is on Zach Orr. I like it or not. He's got a great story in his career, but we're in trouble right now on defense in terms of a guy who's in charge and has to create a system where guys can adjust on the field to the specific threat the offense is showing. It's cool. Jamar Chase is a stud. He's going to make plays, yes. But we're in terrible positioning there to defend anything horizontal. It's what Burrow likes to do out of empty. I probably just talked a little bit in a circle there. But at this point, I'll be honest with you, I have little to no confidence in the structure of our defense in reacting to specific threats, meaning specific formations that are anomalous. Empty formation, Chase and Higgins were the 2 slots, inside receivers. I don't know, exactly how we can't align to threats at all. That's on Zach Orr. Another example, the 41-yard touchdown to Chase. It's 11 personnel trips with the tight end backside. The tight end is to the Bengals' right and to the Ravens' defense's left. The tight end chips and releases. That's a legitimate technique. We use it as well. Well, the corner and safety to that side, it's Humphrey and Eddie Jackson. They don't find work at all. Regardless of who it's on one of them. Yes, like I said, Jamar Chase is very talented. But there comes a time when you have to identify personnel. Over on the other side, you got Chase. Let's do it from outside to inside. You got Higgins. Chase is the middle receiver, and Iosivas, I'm probably mispronouncing his name, is the inside receiver. They're all to the trips. There's no awareness at all from our defenses. Basic trips awareness with 3 wide receivers to the trips. I don't care what coverage it is. The running back stayed in the block. The tight end stayed in the block. No one's finding work. I really don't care what coverage it is. Here's the overall point. It's 15 seconds left in the half. You find work, and you don't allow a deeper route to beat you. Give up a field goal, and I think at that point, conceivably, we're up 14-12 at the half. Situational awareness from a coaching standpoint, poor. Situational awareness from a player standpoint, just as bad. It's terrible on this team, in my opinion. I think that's just a pitch and catch play that 100 receivers in the NFL can make if you play it that way defensively and have no awareness of who is on the other side of the formation away from you, number one, and who is to your side. I'm talking about Humphrey and Eddie Jackson. There's a tight end there. It's 15 seconds left. He's not going to freaking beat us deep. He's not. Let's give up a 15-yard completion to the tight end, make the Bengals make a decision with 9 seconds left, whether to kick a field goal or not. I don't think we have any awareness on defensive players, the specific threat, and the situation. We're up 14-9 with 15 seconds left in the half. In my opinion, the really good football teams in the NFL now and throughout history do not ever give up a touchdown. 100 times out of 100, you give up a field goal at worst. When the ball is snapped, there's 15 seconds left. I think it's an unconscionable mistake by the players. And so blame the players if you want. I think that's surface level. The system that's set up to promote awareness is lacking. Blame Humphrey, blame Eddie Jackson if you want. How many of these situations do you need to see through 4 or 5 games before anyone, is willing to maybe connect the dots and say, hey, I think there's a guy in charge of this side of the ball, even though it doesn't look like it sometimes right now. Now, it might only get worse. Humphrey left the locker room in a walking boot, and Washington's coming to town having won 4 straight. I told you, look out, that this was going to be negative in the beginning. The safety that we gave up is a terrible. It's an easy example to talk about Falele. Okay, fine. He steps down on the defensive tackle. Rosengarten steps out to nobody. In fact, I think it's on Rosengarten, but I understand people want to call it, inside zone, outside, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. You're uncovered if you're Rosengarten. You're looking for work. Him and Falele have got to be able to communicate that, in my opinion. Falele takes the defensive. It's cool to talk about Falele at this point because it's so obvious that he's a detriment on the offensive line, and there are situations we're playing 10 on 11 for real. I'm talking about Falele. It could be on him. It's a lead zone, in my opinion. Rosengarten's uncovered, so there's options there, but we should be able to handle a 4-eye and a 9 with a fullback there as a lead blocker. That's easy to handle. And this is my larger point, though. It's a predictable play call. It's 22 personnel slot eye. And I didn't have the time today. I barely had the time to record this video. But I think we're 80 to 85% above lead zone to the side where likely is. Meaning 2 tight ends on the field. Ricard is the fullback. And we are 80 to 85% running the football to the side where likely is, which is the slot side. He's the slot tight end off the line of scrimmage, and the X receiver is to his side, split out 8 to 10 yards wide. It seems obvious to me that at some point an NFL defense will recognize it and say, hey, maybe we should go over there and defend the point of attack where they run the ball the most. But I get it. We're used to going up against our defense every day, which identifies nothing. So we probably are surprised by that. Blame Falele if you want. Blame Rosengarten. I don't care. In my opinion, it's an extremely predictable play call. I was typing it as the safety happened. Slot I, tab. I was starting to type out lead zone, and then I saw Henry get tackled in the end zone. I didn't have enough time to go find the data, but I will this week. By Wednesday evening, you'll have a formation tendency video with slot I and showing you how many times we've lined up in slot I, how many times we've run lead zone with Ricard leading for Henry to the side where likely is. Totally predictable. I guess another negative way to look at today is we're fortunate to get a win. Lucky. McPherson missed, was it 53-yarder or something like that? It was plus 50. Looked like a high snap. The holder couldn't get it down perfectly. The kicker really had no chance. I don't think it was on the kicker. To me, the holder was struggling to get it down. Ball is actually kind of like tilted a little bit when he kicks it. So we could be 2-3 right now, and then looking at a more demanding game next week, a more talented offense in some cases or a more efficient offense. Let's do it that way throughout the course of the season against Jaden Daniels and company. Now they're lighting people up, even though Daniels doesn't have a 300-yard passing game to his docket yet, but he hasn't played us. I would also counter that, and then we'll spin this to the positive here. People calling us lucky. If we don't fumble in overtime, the Bengals defense has showed no ability to get off the field whatsoever at all. So whatever the cause was of that, I don't know. Like I said, I walked away for a couple of minutes, and I figured the game was over. So switching the light switch towards the positive, Lamar is unbelievable. Henry's a closer. Stacy in the Discord calls him Shaq, and I like it. It's a very cool comparison. That overtime run was shocking, really, because the Bengals had done a nice job against Henry on direct flow runs. Toss play, I think, into the boundary. Got to give Tylan Wallace credit. Now, he did miss a block first. Maybe this play kind of exemplifies who this team is right now. Tylan Wallace is supposed to crack down on the D end. Hendrickson. Now, there's also another point there to say, can we actually expect him to do that? But he gets nothing accomplished. Hendrickson is kind of at the point of attack. I think Ricard picks him up. Then Wallace peels back to the outside, to the boundary side corner. And that just creates a huge lane for Henry to spring through the left side. He nearly scored. My sons were in the room at the time because, like I said, I had walked away and then walked back. And it was, how do we get football? I didn't want to jump and holler. Plus, knowing the way this season is gone, even though Henry, damn near took it to the house, I didn't want to get excited. I don't know about you. I didn't want to get excited until Tucker's field goal went through the uprights, and we had a good 7 to 8 seconds to confirm that no bullshit penalties or flags were thrown on us to take the game-winning points away. There's some guys here that are stars or our best players that came through at the right time. Humphrey, the amazing interception. 3 minutes left in the game, 2nd and 15. He went forward and man, beats Chase to the inside. Burrow tries to stick that throw in there, inside leverage, pick. Incredible play. He's been our best player in the secondary by far. Now I'm excluding Kyle Hamilton because generally he's playing nickel or dime linebacker. So I'm saying that Humphrey's been playing the best out of our outside corners and our safeties. Madubuike's sack on the Bengals' ensuing possession after it was tied at 38, that pushed Cincinnati off track for a potential game-winning field goal. And then the very next play, a 2nd and 17, Nate Wiggins with a pass defensed. You're talking about 3 guys there defensively that made plays. Humphrey, Madubuike, Wiggins. I think he chased Higgins all the way across the field from right to left for the offense. That was a big play. Yes, even if he catches it, it's still going to make it, I think, like 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6. But those 3 plays, in my opinion, were huge in the fourth quarter in terms of keeping the Bengals off the scoreboard in their last 2 possessions. And then Lamar, getting back to Lamar, from the time where we fell behind 24-14, it's like 8.5, 9 minutes left in the third quarter. Lamar was just an alien, a superhero. He had the 55-yard completion to Kolar. And it was a little more windy today than I think maybe we understood on the television. Some balls were floating. Early in the game, I thought, Burrow don't have much on the ball. But then Lamar had some balls kind of float too. So I think both of those guys had trouble throwing, whether it was into the wind or with it. But the 55-yard completion to Kolar came after a 15-yarder to Flowers, who just tormented Cincinnati's DBs today. CTB, Cameron Taylor-Britt, looks like a different guy. At this point in 2024, he looks like a different guy than I had seen last year. And even late in his rookie season of 2022, he was a very impressive corner late in 2022 and 2023 as well. Something doesn't look right. He gets beat a lot more often. I don't know what it is yet. I guess we'll see with the All-22 film. Lamar, in that 3rd to 4th quarter stretch, also had a 27-yard throw. And on the very next play, an 18-yard run, that gets us to, leading to a touchdown, gets us to within 31-28 with like 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I don't know about you, but I started to believe there. And this was crushing. The Bengals scoring in one play. That screen to Chase that I judge very harshly. I understand that you may not. I'm done being negative, so let's skip it. We're down 38-28, magically. Lamar converts a pair of 2nd and longs on the ensuing, actually I think 3 2nd and longs on the ensuing possession, like 2nd and 10, 2nd and 11, 2nd and 12. We go from being down 38-28 to when he gets the ball. He got the ball with 8:54 left. Literally, it's 9 seconds of gameplay after his short touchdown to Kolar and then the screen touchdown to Chase. Ridiculous. He also had a 17-yard throw to Flowers on a deep out, a 12-yard completion to Flowers. Those two were connected. And Andrews had found space underneath against zone for 11 yards on a 2nd and 10. And then the third, I think this throw was 6.5, 6:40 left, something like that, by Lamar is ridiculous. Tylan Wallace played well. There's a 3rd and 10 at the Bengals 32-yard line, about 6:40 left, and he completes it to Tylan Wallace, left hash for 12 yards. And you also have the BS roughing penalty on Hendrickson. Hendrickson tried to play it off and like help Lamar up. I'm glad Lamar just ignored him. I thought it was Bush League by Hendrickson to try to play it off. You could even see his body language. He knew what he had done. If that's the kind of game it's going to be, I would be comfortable with that because we can get to their guy more than they get to ours, if you pick up on what I'm saying. In any case, what follows is one of the top 5 plays of Lamar's career. You have the fumble on the snap, not the one in overtime, but the one in the fourth quarter, down 38-28. Then one stiff arm of Hubbard, who I thought played exceptional today. And then a second stiff arm of Hubbard. Hell, maybe it was 3. Points and finds likely in the end zone between 2 defenders, pulls us within 38-35. It was amazing. Jaw-dropping. I don't know what his passing and rushing stats were in the 3rd and 4th quarter. I haven't had time to go back and tally it, but I will do so. Maybe do a video about that sequence. I think it's amazing what he did in being down 10 3 times and scoring 3 touchdowns to pull us within 3. There's something real to be said about that. It almost reminds me of like a basketball game where no one on your team can hit shots, but you're the only guy who's got like 6 threes and 22 points, and you're just keeping your team in the game. That's what he did. The fact that we have Lamar, 2 guys, Lamar and Derrick Henry, who can make big plays when needed, 2 MVP caliber players. It's incredible. They're really beyond MVP level. There's a level above that I won't mention that I think both of those guys are headed for. Henry's interception followed, and then we needed a 3rd and 6 with less than 2 minutes left. Unable to convert it. I think it's a pass to Bateman. After Lamar had to scramble, there was pressure. I thought the right side had trouble today in pass pro, but we'll see the all-22 in the end zone angle to confirm. Tucker's 56-yarder. How nervous were you? I was a little nervous. It kind of started left and then faded back to the right, knuckled back to the right. I think it was planned. I do. I think he intentionally kicked it at the left upright with a motion to make it fade, and I don't have any idea how to explain how a kicker hits a fade or a draw. I can't do that shit on a golf course either. Ties it at 38. Ravens get the stop like I talked about a moment ago. Matabike sack. Wiggins pass defense. The Bengals chose to run a draw on the 3rd down, which I understand because they wanted the clock to run, didn't want to give us time to potentially go down there. I think if they throw an incomplete on that 3rd and 17, I think we get a game-winning field goal. I think Lamar was on fire, and absent some crazy stuff like a fumbled snap, which did happen twice today, I don't think they stop us. A larger point here about the game to be positive, and I don't mean for this portion of it to sound negative about the Bengals, a team that I really respect. In fact, some Ravens fans in some of my videos the last couple of years have been upset that I talk so glowingly about the Bengals defense. I just think they come to play at the right time, and today they did. The defense came in with a good plan. Burrow and company on the offensive side, I think they recognized our coverages. I think they picked up on most of what we were doing, and they knew when, where, and how to attack. Chase had 10 catches for 193. Higgins, 9 catches for 83. They both had 2 touchdowns. Burrow was 30 of 39 passing, 392 yards. In some cases, he didn't have to do much to get those yards. It was just take the snap, throw. Take the snap, throw. He knew where he was going with the football. Our defense couldn't have been in worse position at times, in my opinion. The Bengals only turned it over once. They held a 10-point lead 3 times in the second half at home on a day when their defense probably played close to its ceiling, and they still lost. There's something to be said there, in my opinion, about sustainability. How much better can their defense play? I don't think they can play much better. They limited Henry for probably 80% of the game, regular game flow, that overtime run. I'm omitting that. One seam, and he made him pay. The margin for error for this Bengals team seems smaller than it did a year and a half ago. I'm talking about after they made their 2nd consecutive AFC Championship game. It just seems a lot smaller. I don't know if you have the same feeling from a Ravens fan's perspective. Watching Chase and Higgins, give us trouble, obviously provides flashbacks to 2021. And there is a very interesting point to be made about how well Mike McDonald defended this passing attack, 2022 and 2023, versus Wink Martindale and 1 game of Zach Orr. Do you need to see another game of Zach Orr allowing this type of production by Joe Burrow, Chase, and Higgins to make a summary judgment on him? I don't, at least for right now. How does all this relate to the Ravens in a positive light? Because we're in the positive section, supposedly. We played a D-level game on defense. Still got some critical stops. We had the first drive of the game where Roquan Smith makes a tackle for loss on a 3rd and short. We had Humphrey's INT in the 4th quarter, and then the final possession where we're able to get a stop once the game had been tied at 38 and deny the Bengals a chance to go win the game with a game-winning field goal. 3-2 really shouldn't feel good, but it does. It is what it is at this point. A win over the Commanders next week would feel even better. I understand that, people would have a negative opinion about that one, obviously, because of how challenging today's game was and how possibly fortunate we were to actually get a win and move to 3-2 on the road. It's the AFC North. It's supposed to be difficult, and on a day when we played helter-skelter, certainly didn't play our best game overall, and nor did we play complimentary football, still able to move to 3-2. It was a whirlwind of a day. Actually gave me a headache, for real. I tried to be a little creative with my reaction video. Maybe I was too negative in the beginning or too positive at the end. Let me know which of those statements you agree with or neither in the comment section. If you think other Ravens fans would enjoy this reaction video to the Ravens' 41-38 overtime win over the Bengals, it drops the Bengals to 1-4, which is a pretty incredible achievement with all the talent they have on offense, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.